Dear Director General Reichert's, dear students of the Simone Weil Promotion, dear citizens of Bruges, dear friends and colleagues, welcome to this special lecture, which at the same time is a citizens' dialogue, an official one of the European Commission. So this means we are going to be live streamed. It's a particular pleasure and also honor for me to welcome Martine REICHERTS here today at the college. Martine REICHERTS has entered the service of the European Commission in 1984 and has had a very distinguished career, obviously, in the European Commission. It would take at least 10 minutes to read out all the positions you have held, but let me emphasize that you have, inter alia, hold the position of Deputy Head of Cabinet of Commission President Santer, that you have been a spokesperson of the European Commission, that you have been in charge, we just talked about this, of the very large publications office of the European Union, which also is of considerable use to the students because many of the official publications, including the treaties, of course, are printed by this office. It's a major contribution, I think, to the transparency of the European Union if you headed this very large agency for 8 years. Since September 2015, you are in charge of the Director General for Education and Culture, which is, I would say, the Director General of most importance to the students of the college here, of the College of Europe. Director General Reichert's has a responsibility for what I regard as one of the most successful programs of all times of the European Union, of the European communities, the Erasmus Plus programs. It's a huge program with a budgetary volume of 2.1 billion euro per year. Generations of students in Europe have benefited from the opening up of the barriers between the education systems of the borders between the member states. In this respect, you all know about the term Génération Erasmus, and I think it's not an exaggeration to actually use this term. So this is already a major responsibility of Mrs. Reichert's, but there is also the Creative Europe program, which actually intends to provide support to the cultural and audiovisual sector in Europe. And there are quite a number of still other programs, but again, I don't want to prolong the list endlessly. So given all these responsibilities, we also more appreciate that you have joined us today. If you allow me to say it, whenever I've paid you a visit, I was very much impressed by your frankness and also different angles of actually looking at well-established issues. And if you look at the subject of today's speech, again, you can see there a very refreshing, different approach to interacting actually with citizens and with students. The subject, as you all know, starts with dare to be who you are. I think it's a very nicely chosen combination of words, because ultimately in education policy, all the rationale of education policy is to enable ultimately the younger generation to develop into the full potential of what they can be. So here we have a direct connection with the mission of any education policy and also the education policy effort of the European Union to enable younger people to develop their full potential and to dare what they are. So I think it's a very nicely chosen subject. I admire you for the courage to actually then have the subtitles, which say, basically opens up the floor to any question, even about life, about the future of the European Union. This already is, of course, a very large subject, and any other topic. So we would like to thank you very much for having joined us today, for courageously opening up the field as large as you do. Welcome.
Great. Thanks, dear Rector. I think it's a real pleasure to be here today and to see so many people, and not only young people, but also less young people. He said, you know, when I started in the Commission, so you all know that I'm not 20 anymore, you can look at me, so that's also an easy one. And as I'm a little bit provocative for those who do not know me, I will start by showing you a video, and I will just set the scene. So I'm also in charge of the trainees of the Commission. And so yesterday, there's one of the trainees who is here, so he will see the video for the second time. And the trainees from the previous session, 2 sessions ago, by the way, not last one, but the one before, produced this video. And I will tell you afterwards, you know, why this, but you will see how provocative it is. So, Mathieu, if I can ask you to launch the video, and it's showtime.
Bonjour, man.
Bonjour.
Ouvre la porte, man.
What do you want, man?
They just wrote about me.
What did they say?
I don't know why this is happening.
Who said it?
The journalist next door, you know?
Oh, man.
I don't know what to do.
Well, explain it wasn't you.
Alright, meteorites that they call me red-handed, chatting with the lobby next door. Picture this, we were both caught making deals on the 13th floor. How could I forget that tabloids choose what they want to see? All this time they were messing with my credibility. So they've got me banning corgis.
It wasn't me.
So me banning smoky bacon.
It wasn't me.
I even banned double-deckers.
It wasn't me.
No more crooked bananas.
It wasn't me.
All the money that I'm spending.
It wasn't me.
Regulations never ending.
It wasn't me.
EU fees getting higher.
It wasn't me.
Bureaucrats are on fire. Meteorites that they call me red-handed, chatting with the lobby next door. Picture this, we were both caught making deals on the 13th floor. How could I forget that tabloids choose what they want to see? All this time they were messing with my credibility. But they caught me banning corgis.
It wasn't me.
Saw me banning smoky bacon.
It wasn't me.
I even banned double-deckers.
It wasn't me.
No more crooked bananas.
It wasn't me.
All the money that I'm spending.
It wasn't me.
Regulations never ending.
It wasn't me.
EU fees getting higher.
It wasn't me.
Bureaucrats are on fire. Meteorites and they call me red-handed, chatting with the lobby next door. Picture this, we were both caught making deals on the 13th floor. How could I forget that tabloids choose what they want to see? All this time they were messing with my credibility. They should tell you that they're sorry for the pain that they've caused. I've been claiming all these headlines, they make no sense at all. They should tell you that they're sorry for the promises made. You may think that they'll fulfill them, but they've already failed. That's why I sing meteorites and they call you red-handed, chatting with the lobby next door. Picture this, we were both caught making deals on the 13th floor. How could I forget that they choose what they want to see? All this time they were messing with my credibility.
Jimmy, had you ever seen this video? No. So, when I got the video as a gift from the trainees, you know, my people said, you cannot put this, you know, this cannot be public. I said, why not? That's, you know, that's their feeling, so it's important. And I think that's why I made the choice now to start with this, because I think it's just to set the scene and to show that, you know, this is really a dialogue. It's not me preaching anything, because first of all, I have nothing to preach, but I really would like to share with you, and I think this is important. And the dare who you want to be is really one of my main mantras. And it has followed me for the last, I'm 60 this year, so I'm sorry because you also already heard it yesterday. I'm not the grandmother of Erasmus, even though I'm 60. I'm the mother of Erasmus because we celebrated the 30th anniversary this year. So I think I made the choice of this specific job because I really think that education can make a difference. Jimmy and myself were working together 98, 99, so he's much younger than I am, but so that was a long time ago. And I dare to say that I didn't change. So he's still ashamed when he's along with me. 20 years ago, it was exactly the same. And I think, and that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, you know, don't get into a scheme where others want you to see, because that just doesn't work. So you are all, I don't know the citizens, but I know about the curricula of all the students here. You are all bright, and I'm pretty sure the citizens also are, but then we will see with the questions later on. I can answer the questions in French or in English, so you can put the questions in French or in English or even in German if you so wish. I will not answer in German, I promise the rector. I will not answer in Luxembourgish either, because I'm Luxembourgish, and that's why, you know, I know Juncker since 79 or 80. So just he was, I studied law, and coming back to Luxembourg, you need to study 6 months of Luxembourgish law first. And so we were in the same class. And he was already in those days the secretary of the party. And he's a little bit older than me, which shows that I'm a better student than he is, but he ended up being the president of the commission. So, you know, studies is not always the key for success. But don't tell your parents, because they will not like that one. So be cautious. And even that, you know, he was coming to those classes, and those classes were terribly boring. I don't want to spoil your career, youngsters, but when you come back from universities with the best teachers, as you have them in Bruges, and then afterwards you come to those classes with the oldies in Luxembourg, the lawyers, judges, explaining to you things in a way which was really blah, blah, blah. So it was terribly boring. And Jean-Claude Juncker was coming to these classes in the morning because it was compulsory to be there. So every morning they were checking if we were in or not. And so he was coming with the files, with his files, and with the mail, because in those days we were still writing mail, letters. So it was not everything over mail. And after 1 or 2 months, he got a letter by the Avocat Général saying, you should behave a little bit better because you're not working in these classes. And if you don't behave, you will be fired or kicked out. He never passed the exam, by the way, and again, you know, he's now the president of the European Union. So, just to set the scene. Okay, that was all I wanted to say. My second message is that, okay, you will make the show. So, I can talk to you about for hours, but I think I really would like to answer your concerns, your questions, what you would like to know from me, even personally. I'm not sure I will answer all the personal questions, but, you know, I have a joker, maybe 2. And so, the floor is yours. Go ahead. Who starts? Who breaks the ice?
Any question, any topic.
Any question, any topic. Go ahead.
According to the last NASA reports, climate change is getting harder and harder.
So what? Climate change?
Climate change, yes. And US, with coming of Trump, left the Paris Agreement, but there also was a criticism in the Paris Agreement about climate change that doesn't work effectively, and we still cannot. Okay, thank you. We still cannot stop the climate changing as more damage. So basically, the saldo of the damage is bigger. So, what possible the real actions and how to make countries really think about climate changing and the effects that can be in future? Because basically, for the moment, we see that it's easier to pay a fee than following the rules.
Okay, that was a long discussions already when all this was discussed inside the Commission, you know, about fees and not fees, and it will favor the rich countries against the poor countries and all this. To come out of a controversial issue, because I think for the time being, you know, the COP21 is an agreement, and an agreement, in my experience, is always a compromise, which means that an agreement is never good. And it can't please both sides, those who want it even stronger and those who want it weaker. So at the end of the day, politics is about compromises. And politics is like life. If you have a partner, you need to compromise. Politics is exactly the same. There is no difference, you know. So, COP21 is a compromise. We now know what the US position is, and so we will see if this moves or not, because we have signs that it is moving. So I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball at this time, at this stage. But to answer your questions more personally, I would put the question back.
Okay.
Okay? What can I do to change climate change? Because if we all wait, always, that others will do the job for us, we will all together fail. And I think one of the messages I always put forward is be the change you want to see in the world. That's Gandhi, by the way. So let's apply this to all the critical things you think about. I think this planet is in danger, we know. But what can I do at my level to change it? Do I have a bike? Do I, garbage? Do I take care of what I'm buying? Do I have at least 100 pair of shoes? That's my case. Do I really need them? Things like this. So I turned it back to you and I said, okay, what will your generation change now? Don't wait us to give you the answers. Move your, we are on TV, so I will not say. Okay?
Yes, can I once back again question? So you tell us what we can change, and I agree, personal level, but for example, we are people who realize the threat of climate change. There are a lot of people who didn't. So what can an educational system do to make a change in education, and how we can spread the real facts about climate changing and make more people really think about it?
Okay, we'll make a test case. Who is convinced in this place that we need to do more in climate change? Okay? So, move. Move. I think the difference between your generation and my generation is that in my generation, we had very charismatic leaders and people moving around, etc. And we, when I was your age, were followers. I think in today's world, where you're all grown up, clever, educated, on Twitter, on Facebook, on all those things, we have seen, and we have seen it with the Printemps Arabe, and we have seen this with other things, how important it is that you mobilize. Oh, I will do a plea immediately. There is, for the time being, collections of votes to have 10 times more Erasmus on LLP, Long Life Learning Platform. Please sign it. I think that's one of the ways, but I'm not joking. And I think we cannot ask and we cannot give the power anymore to politicians my age. And it's not only a question of age. It's also a question of, taking your own future in your hands. I know the answer is not easy, and I don't want to have that you have the feeling that I'm not trying to answer the question. But I think I'm doing what I can at my level, and that's why I'm here today. Otherwise, I could stay in my office. I think it's important that we show, also at the European level, that we have a heart, a face, and we are not only a director general sitting somewhere in an office in Brussels. So part of our job, and that's also with Jimmy, is, to travel around, to answer questions, and also difficult questions. And then that's why I put the video on, so that you dare, also you, to go for what you think. And if environment is your first priority, try to find a job in link with that. And it can be in NGO, it can be wherever. You are much more powerful. I talk to the youngsters, but I also talk to the others. You are much more powerful than you think. Trust yourself and go for it. And if you fail, you will fail. I also failed a few times in my life, even more than a few times. That's how you will learn. Dare to go for it. That's why you're sitting here in Bruges. You are part of the intelligentsia of the next generation. But the next generation starts today. So move your feet.
Thank you.
Who is next?
May I? It's on. Since the micro is here. Speaking of Erasmus and the great success that it has achieved for these 30 years, is there a possibility to broaden the scope of Erasmus programs in a way that includes maybe high school students, not only just the students, or another countries, due to the fact that the result that Erasmus product, it's basically the very first true European generation that we have now on the continent. Thank you.
Yes, who has been on an Erasmus? Oh, it's always a good feeling. Wow, I love it. I fully agree with you. I think Erasmus has still this very exclusive favor, and we're working on this. This being said, first of all, Erasmus Plus is about 7 old programs that have been merged. So we have the students, we have the schools, we have the teachers, we have the international part, we have the exchange of best practices. So I think it's a huge program. For the time being, and you said it's, Rector, it's 14.7 billion for over 7 years. And I'll give you a very shocking figure. For the time being, 1 year of Erasmus is 18 days of agricultural policy. Okay? So at the level of the Europeans, and that's what I can do to change, at the levels of Europe, we spend 1 year Erasmus, 18 days of agricultural policy. I've been myself in the cabinet of the agriculture commissioner 100 years ago. So agriculture, of course, is important. That's not the point. But it's just to show you, the perspective. So I agree with you. We need to do much more. That's one of the reasons why we also have launched the Solidarity Corps, which is the volunteering scheme which we have for the youngsters, where you can all enroll. Jimmy is a very fervent defender of this one. So I think all this is more money. We will have more money. The budget of Erasmus is growing between 17 and 2020 by 10% a year. So it is growing. It's still not enough. We need to do much more for schools, because I think you are all, I imagine, convinced Europeans. And if you are not, it's too late. So I will not even try. But I think we should try with kids. I think if you have schools traveling with the teachers, you just open up your minds. And that's why I think we had the Belgian Prime Minister asked for 10 times more. We now have this platform asking for 10 times more. The President Juncker said we need 9 times more mobility. And I've put forward now in my demands for the next budget 10 times more. And that's why, again, I need your support. Because very interestingly, 30 years ago, Erasmus was born, and we had a negative opinion. Who is a lawyer in this place? 30 years ago, we had a negative opinion from the legal service. So the politicians didn't want Erasmus. They were afraid of Erasmus. They didn't think about the value added. All those students, why should they move? So that's my message. We need to make it more inclusive. We need to address also the needs of the ones who are called Mohammed in Molenbeek or in Mechelen. We saw yesterday the mayor with the trainees. I think all those people need to be integrated. And of course, that means more money. Because I think if you don't have a father and a mother who are paying for your studies, it's very complicated. So I think we need to find ways to increase the 18 days to a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question linked to this access to education. I'm wondering about what your view is regarding the increasing privatization of third level education. In Ireland at the moment, it is proposed that a quota system for Irish students should be introduced as a way of balancing or managing the demand of and desire for non-Irish, non-EU students who pay extremely high fees.
You talk about what specific problem?
The, like this increased, it's really for me an issue of access of let's say, European citizens to their own education systems, with this capitalization of the systems and attracting non-EU students through very high fees. And it's kind of pushing out, I guess, EU citizens from their own education systems. Do you understand?
What's your question? I didn't really get it. Can somebody help me?
maybe this isn't really a problem on the EU level, because I know there's great equality of access in Central Eastern countries.
Different fee levels
In Bruges or where? In Ireland.
In Ireland, yes. At the moment, there's discussion that a quota system should be introduced so that there will be less places for Irish students, which for me is problematic in terms of for students who come from the sections of society that have the least amount of resources. And therefore...
Okay. I don't know about this specific problem. There is one rule in Europe, which is a non-discrimination rule. So I think we need to check exactly once the law is passed if this breaks the non-discrimination law, yes or no. From what I know at this stage, you know, I can share your concerns, but I don't have enough elements to tell you exactly what this is about. So I'm sorry, maybe we can talk later about this if you have more elements. But the principle is the non-discrimination principle. So I think this is the basis. It's one of the fundamental values in Europe, non-discrimination. So I think this is one of our freedoms. So I think we need to stick to this one. But I need to look into this. Thank you. I think, yeah. Let's move on to this side, and then we will go to the back. Where's the microphone? We've lost the microphone. Can you pass it on? We don't have the cushion, you know, the prop. That's much more fun. Rector, you should invest in the cushion.
Hi, I think it's really nice, and we appreciate that you are here, Mrs. Reichert's, if I pronounce it correctly. My question is that you're here talking to us directly about our issues, so we can ask any questions. Is the EU, the European Commission, doing anything particularly for high school students, something like this? Because I think how people feel in regions of the EU is still very abstract about the EU.
You want to know precisely what? What's behind your question? You want to work in the European institutions? Is that your question? Or what do you, what's your question?
I would love to, yes. No, if you are doing something to make the EU less abstract to high school students or university students studying in member countries of the EU.
You have a hint?
You should, maybe you should go on a tour.
We'll organize a bus. You know, since Jimmy is sitting here and he's the head of the rep in Belgium, I think this is our major challenge. I think, you know, I think the one thing I will say to you is really interesting, who read Macron's speech at La Sorbonne? Macron, the French president, went to La Sorbonne and delivered a speech. Who had the chance to read the speech or to listen to the speech? Okay, one of the sentences he said is really important. We are all Brussels. Nous sommes tous Bruxelles. And I think I've seen this. I started working in the Commission in '84, and it's getting better or worse every year because it's always because of Brussels. And I think Macron is really the first politician who dares to say, let's stop that. Let's stop that. Because that also starts. So I think we as Commission also make mistakes. I think I've seen so many things, you know, we have seen a few of those myths, and unfortunately some of them are true. Because once in a while it's very complicated. And I don't know if you have followed now the discussion on the ban of this chemical which is called, I never know. Wait a minute, I asked Jimmy, he should know.
Glyphosate.
Glyphosate is something, you know. And it's really complicated because, you know, whatever is going to happen, and I don't know what the outcome will be because it's a very complicated thing, and welcome to all the comitology specialists because I'm pretty sure you have brilliant classes here on comitology. I think whatever the decision will be, we will fall into the trap whereby either the farmers who need it or the people who say it's dangerous for our health, I think whatever we do, we will end up in a hole. That I promise you. So I think it's really complicated because the more we go, the more complicated, sophisticated the issues are. This being said, very often, and I say this with the exception of the few of us sitting here, very often we are very arrogant. I talk about the bureaucrats in Brussels. We can be very arrogant, even in the way we draft notes, even if the way we treat people, we know it all. I will show you the way. Come on. I think I'm not better than you are. I'm just, I'm trying my best, but that's all I can do. So I think to make Brussels more visible is really something which is nearly mission impossible. I'll give you one example. When I was a spokesperson, I discovered that, each and single prime minister, president, or whoever has a plane and takes journalists along. So when you have the Belgian prime minister, he has 30, 40, 50 journalists traveling with him. The president of the United States takes a whole plane. I'm not sure Trump does, by the way, but usually that's part of the tradition. That doesn't exist in Europe. If you are the president of the Commission, you face the French journalists, the German journalists, the Italian journalists, so it's much more complicated to communicate. Plus the fact that if you sit in Brussels, to know exactly what is of interest in Spain, in Portugal, in Hungary, in Poland is really rocket science. And that's really complicated. And that's why we need multipliers, and that's why, things like Twitter will function better. But it also means that people like me, or the youngsters, the trainees, or the young officials, Mathieu, where are you? He's one of my collaborators, are being trained to explain things easily and in words which people understand. But this is the same for national politicians. We need to explain things easily and in words people understand. Yesterday we had the mayor from Michelin. I think this guy was amazing. He was explaining what he did in his commune, just to integrate the 20% of Muslims he had. He used normal words. Because today I'm talking to highly skilled students. But sometimes if you talk to the guy in the cafeteria, and ours in our building in Brussels is called UU, and he comes from Albania, you cannot talk about subsidiarity, and all those complicated words. So this will be a long process. It means that everybody endorses, but it also means that we all become ambassadors and dare to say and dare to travel and dare to come to see you and to be, and to accept any question. Somebody said to me this morning, this is very courageous that you didn't put a theme and you accept any question. I said, of course, that's my job. I'm paid to answer your questions, even if those questions, make me feel uneasy. But that's your job. And I will not shout on you, it's promised. Okay? Sorry, I couldn't be clearer than that. You have a follow-up? You'll come back. Okay? Next one. I think we maybe go back to the, and we have one of the ladies maybe also, yeah. One, and then you will be next.
Okay, thank you for being here. I would just like to ask you a question about the externalization of EU educational policies. I mean, there is already an EU strategy on international cultural relations. Is there something like more concrete regarding its educational policies, like being... Yes, educational policies. There has been recently launched an EU strategy on international cultural relations of EU, of externalizing its internal cultural policies. Is there a similar thing for education?
So on the education, first of all, I just want to come back on education. One of the major issues in the education sector is that education is not a core competence of the European Union. I think this is really important to say, which means that education is still a competence of the different member states, and they are very jealous of their own curriculums. So I think this being said, we have lots of forums inside Europe where we exchange best practices. We will also, for example, launch next year communication about digital skills. What do we need in today's world in the educational system? What functions, what does not function in terms of IT? Training of teachers, also vis-à-vis new technologies, things like this, can be done. The curricula as such is really strictly the competence of member states, and we need to be very cautious. We have lots of agreements with international countries. So I'm going to China, for example, to Shanghai next month, where we have the HPPP dialogue, higher people-to-people dialogue. So here we have a cultural part and we have an educational part. I met a colleague yesterday coming back from the Middle East. I think they are very keen on having more of Erasmus+. So we have contacts with Turkey. We have lots of universities in Turkey who already are in the scheme in Erasmus+. Turkey is part of Erasmus+, as is Iceland for the time being, with all the problems we can have in those countries. So I think it's a step-by-step approach. Erasmus+ is the wonderful answer to this. You know, and again, we could have many more students coming from those countries, but also Europeans going to those countries. I was in India last November to a congress, and it was immediately after the Theresa May was there 2 days before. So the Indians now were looking to us and say, okay, can we come to Europe if now the door to England closes? So I think we have a unique opportunity there. But again, I can plea for it, but I'm not at the level who will take the decision. And it's interesting because on the budget, it's not the ministers of education that will take the decision, it's the ministers of finance. So we need to convince the ministers of finance. But we have lots of initiatives in the educational field and in the cultural field. Especially, I gave you the example of China, but we also encouraged very strongly the members, the countries from South America to organize their own Erasmus. And we gave them the tools because it's a little bit far away, but to have their own Erasmus inside South America, that would be great too. We need more exchange of students because that open up minds and hearts. That's what I really strongly believe in. Let's go to the gentleman. No, I think the lady may be behind because otherwise she's trying for the last 20 minutes, otherwise she will kill me afterwards.
Thank you. I've been involved with Erasmus since '87. So, so over the years, you feel a kind, certainly at this moment, a discouragement. People are not encouraged anymore, certainly in higher education, to write applications. 350 pages to read the new call, and the coming call will be even more extensive, I think, that people do not like it anymore, to fight against each other, to work for their students. So that's a pity. I think I could suggest that you would, for the next program that you are preparing, that you reduce the number of pages for the call. Go to the essence. And then I'm also an expert in for 3 national agencies. And I would please beg, come back to the original features with the executive agency, not decentralizing, make it again central, because you have so many national agencies in Europe, the national offices outside Europe, and it makes it all so complicated, and that you work per region, not for Europe any longer, but for your own region.
Okay, so this is a very technical question, and I think it's twofold. So first of all, Erasmus is a very much decentralized program, so we have 60 national agencies handling this. Of course, some of the issues are absolutely correct, but we just did an assessment with the help of our authorities and the national agencies, and I think I don't want to disagree with you, but I will. I was myself at the last meeting with the national agencies. I think they want an evolution of Erasmus. They don't want a revolution of Erasmus, because I think they now know how it functions, and I really would like to facilitate, and I come back to the IT issues because that's a wide one. And I think, but the advantage of having a decentralized system, I think Erasmus cannot be managed centrally. This is just not possible because the students need to have a contact in the different countries and member states and a face. And we know that this is more or less functioning. We can always improve a system, of course. On the IT issue, I think this has changed dramatically since I'm in this job, because I think when I came 2 years ago, the relationship with the agencies were really bad, really bad. And the IT system has been improved dramatically. We are, for the time being, working on the online forms, and we are more or less there, Mathieu. This is very complicated because it looks very easy, but the fact that we need forms in, it's not 23 languages, it must be 27 or something like this, because we also have Turk and languages like this, makes it that one form needs to be under the same format in all the things. So it's not as easy as if it would only be in one language. We are simplifying the procedures. This being said, you again have two people in this room who have suffered a lot the fall of the Santerre Commission, and we fall into the track of the danger of having a system where we didn't have enough audits to a system where we just have too much. Unfortunately, this is not in our hands. We have controls of controls of controls of controls. Ask the rector, he faces the same kind of issue. So what we can do, we do. I have simplified the forms now for the schools. We have cut them by half. So this will be in place for the next call. So I know the issue, we're working on this, but we still need to work in the context of a financial regulation, because that's where we're working with. And again, this is taxpayers' money. We cannot take the risk that this money is being spent in a way which it shouldn't be spent. So I think it's always, we need to find the right balance. But we are working on ideas. For example, I was in Germany last week, and the idea was to have a system, a one-pager or 2 pages for the school with the guarantee of the different lenders in Germany. So this is something we are working on to see if we can simplify. So I know the issue, you're absolutely right, but again, IT looks easy, but it's never once you look into the details. Next one. Yes, go ahead.
I'm Confucius Institute Brugge.
You are what?
Confucius Institute Brugge, the Institute for Chinese Language and Culture. Okay. We were founded in 2012, actually as a spin-off of the first round of the EU-China high-level people-to-people dialogue. 18 April was the first summit in Brussels with Madame Vassiliou and the then Madame Liu Yantung. And we were opened the second day here in Brugge. And following all the documents being published on HPPD, and I attended one in 2014 in Beijing. And you already mentioned it, but it all seems very narrowed down to Erasmus, to exchange of university students, whereas it's much more than that, yes. Also in our case. But the problem we are facing is, we were mentioned in one of the documents, I think, one of the official documents, and that was in connection with, I think, teachers of smaller languages, Chinese teachers of smaller languages, going to be sent to Europe for training purposes. But that is the only time we were mentioned. And for us, it would be very interesting to know what's going on in the first place, to to have some sort of a common platform where we can meet people involved in the same dialogue on a common basis.
Okay. So first of all, since you are a teacher, I would like to quote that we have this platform for teachers, which is not open to the Chinese yet. Mathieu, give me a hand. How is it called? E-twinning. Thank you. That's why I need my slaves. That's the problem of age, memory, in my at least, gets. So this is a platform which is open to everybody. It will be, which is open to the Europeans, and it has been open to the Middle East now. So this is an amazing platform. If you don't know it, go and have a look, because it's really great. Last year, the Commission adopted the communication on which is not called cultural diplomacy, because they didn't want the title, but which everybody calls cultural diplomacy, which means that I also call it cultural diplomacy in public, because everybody understands what this is about. And this is about the exchange in the cultural world, not with the Europeans, but with the rest of the world. And it's Vice President Mogherini who really pushed a lot for this. And we will see also what we can do with Africa on those issues. I will be in Shanghai in a month's time for the HPPP dialogue which will take place in Shanghai in a month's time. So things will go on. With China, we of course have the problem, since you quote China, that China is so big. How many applications, Mathieu, did we get from the Chinese to become a trainee? How much? 15,000. So, you know, and we have 1,000 trainees for all the institutions. So it's just to give you the ratio. They are very keen. It's a question of means. It's also a question of political will. So I think we need to do much more, and the Chinese are very keen to come to the universities to, you know, use the opportunity of Erasmus Plus, of all of the cultural exchanges. They have this beautiful cultural center in Brussels, which is just next to our office. But at some stage, you know, culture is still not the priority number one of our politicians. This being said, we will have next year the European Year of Cultural Heritage, and there will be one strand taking into account the international one. So this will be the only European year under the Juncker Commission, and it will be the European Year for Cultural Heritage. So I think this is a very important, you know, symbolic gesture, even though the budget is very small, but I think this is really a strong push. So I think here Chinese, of course, will be associated, because that's really important. It's, you know, but not only the Chinese, because, you know, they are today in India. Again, you know, this is also very important. Okay, thank you. Microphone, go ahead. You're very serious, by the way.
Okay, now it's working. Yeah. Good morning, and thank you for being here. I wanted to ask you a question about fake news, because I feel very concerned about this topic, since in my country it's being a very big deal, in the sense that I see more and more young people being, even though they are educated people, they are unable to distinguish between what is true and what is not true, and they can't, let's say, double check what they read. And as well, some politicians are exploiting the situation with respect to the EU spreading wrong messages. And so I know that the European Parliament has made a very nice social media campaign on Instagram and Facebook to raise awareness about the problem, and that there is some collaboration with social media firms to try and fight against fake news. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think we could do personally to help solve the problem, and what are initiatives that the Commission or the other institutions are going to take in the future to solve the problem? Thank you.
I think this is a very important issue. But I'll give you one fake news which is always fun, and which I always use myself, saying we don't know if it's true or not. But you have probably heard about the 1 million babies in Erasmus. Which is a fake news. We don't know. We don't know. So, you know, and it's great because, you know, we don't know. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. I don't know. Because, you know, I can't count them. So I think it's, I don't know either how many babies we have in the trainees generation for years. So I think, you know, but again, to be serious, fake news is a real issue, and that has always existed. When I was a spokesperson that was again, you know, 25 years ago now, no more, that already existed, and that will always exist. I think when you look at the story of the Bible, just to take one of the old, you know, classical texts, you know, it's full of fake news. It's full of fake news in the sense we give it today. So this is part of life, okay? So I think what we can do, and that's one of the things we will have in the skills which we are working on, and, you know, is how to develop critical thinking. I think that's the key issue, because you will never prevent somebody from lying, because unfortunately nobody lies here, of course. No, I never do. Nobody cheats. No, we never do. But that's part of our lives. That's how we have been, you know, that's how we have been constructed. So the only thing we can do is to learn about critical thinking, because this really can help. We know that Facebook is trying to chase. We know that Twitter is trying to chase. We know that Instagram is trying to chase. But the more it goes, the more difficult it is. On Instagram, it's so quick. How can you do? On Twitter, how can you do? On Facebook, you can. But then you end up with paintings where you see, what was it, the painting they took off because you could see something you shouldn't have been seen because it was a woman, you know, supposedly naked, etc. So it's a very complicated thing. So I think we need, and that's part of the digital skills communication we are working on. We need to teach our, you know, from very small on, that, you know, what you put on Facebook, it never disappears. You know, what you publish never disappears. You know, and, you know, we are not convinced of that. We all publish things on Facebook we shouldn't be publishing on Facebook. So I think we need really to raise the awareness. That's the only thing we can do. And also, you know, be critical. And the interesting thing is, which I can testify, is that your generation is already much more critical than mine. When I was sitting in the classroom, what the teacher was saying, you know, was really what that was right. I never questioned that. You don't have that anymore. You question what your parents, your teachers, your whatever say. So I think it's getting better. But, you know, when we look at the flow of information, it's getting worse and worse. So I think at some stage, maybe the best system is just not to switch on those damn phones we all have on our tables today. But again, that's maybe, you know, you never come back. But raising awareness is for me the only answer. And that's why, you know, again, go for it. I think we should go to the back a little bit because, you know, they feel a little bit alone down there. He's a little bit lazy. He doesn't want to get up and down. And then yeah, great. Go ahead.
Hi. I would like to ask maybe a follow-up question or a related question to the woman in front. I think it's a bit of a shame that in this room with a lot of people who know about opportunities within the European Union, there's still questions about programs for younger people, for high school students, because there are already a lot of programs out there. And I think that maybe highlights a little bit of a problem that a lot of people just don't know about these programs. I know for me, I've been introduced to the back then Youth in Action program when I was 16, and a world of opportunities opened for me because I didn't know about anything before that, but after that I had the chance to participate in youth exchanges, in a European voluntary service, and that afterwards opened the door to an Erasmus Mundus, all kinds of other opportunities. But if I talk to people from 16, 17, 18, 19 years old now, they don't know about they don't know anything about that. And a lot of older people don't know about that. It's also really hard to fill in the applications to make those exchanges happening. Is there any sort of campaign or any plans to try to spread more awareness about the existence of this kind of program?
I think this is about communicating about Europe has always been complicated, and I've been participating in so many debates, meetings on this subject, that this is for me the typical Café du Commerce discussion, you know, because everybody knows it better. And at the end of the day, I'm following this discussion for 33 years, and we never found the right balance between national, European, etc. To come back to your precise question, we now have started this campaign on the European Solidarity Corps. So you now have Jimmy is traveling all over Europe to show that this exists. And I will share a dream with you, which he doesn't know yet, because since I'm in charge of this file, because of the European voluntary system, I have a dream which I will share with you, because maybe you will be able to put it in place, because I'm not sure I will be able, because of my age, not because I'm not capable. But I think at some stage, somebody else has to take over. I think I have a dream, which is that on the basis of the European Solidarity Corps, or whatever, we get all the volunteering schemes in all member states interlinked with one single portal. or at least one portal which takes over, all the different schemes we have in the different member states. Because even in the member states, and I come from Luxembourg, which is one of the smallest, they don't know what the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. So it's very complicated. But this dream I have, I think we need at some stage, especially for all the programs for youth, and with today's IT possibilities, this is feasible. We need an interlinkage of all the schemes we have for the young people in Europe. So we are starting with the European Solidarity Corps. We get more money, we are publicizing, we have launched a huge campaign. I'm also using for the time being the Erasmus Plus campaign with the 30th anniversary, which is very successful, where we even have too many people now joining, so we don't know how to handle this anymore, Mathieu, but that's the way. So Erasmus Plus campaign, 30th anniversary, is a real success story. We need to do it with other things. The problem being, how many real, let's be honest between ourselves, how many real success stories do we have in Europe which we can sell easily? I think Erasmus, you don't need to sell. You know what Erasmus is about, not in every details. But how can you sell, shall we put this chemical product on the market, yes or no? Shall we prolong the authorization, yes or no? This is not very popular. When I was a spokesperson, I was one time on television all over the places. And you know when? When the Viagra was allowed. I announced it downstairs in the press room. I was on every single television, because that's the kind of things, I don't understand why, by the way. I don't know why, but this was on all the spots on TV. But let's talk about something technical. And that's the same in the national governments. You cannot communicate it about difficult things. You get lots of publicity for wash powder because they're all the same. So you can do things. But again, how to do? I don't have the answer, I must admit. But if somebody has, I'm prepared to take over. But the Solidarity Corps is one of the answers we have launched. So go and have a look. Yes. Where's the microphone? Yeah.
Thank you for being here today. I have a question regarding the disappointment of youth, especially in public politics and politics in general, on a national level, also on a European level. What I see more and more around my circle of friends and in a broader scale, that there's a certain disenchantment of the young people actually what they want to do in life. There's kind of like a transition phase, I think, and there's a big discrepancy also between the older generation and the newer generation. As I see Monsieur Macron or yourself are engaging with us in this organized setting, but there are some other youth who maybe can't have their voice heard, or they especially just don't even care about what's going on in the world or in general in politics, because for them it's something old or boring. Or how can we push these people to be more engaged, more interested in politics?
Where are you from?
Hungary.
Hungary. I agree with you and I disagree with you. I think I didn't tell you, but I'm also a yoga teacher, and so I'm going to a lot of those sessions, with also very young people. So I think, and so they don't know necessarily who I am. And usually I try to stay anonymous, so that's much more fun. And for me, what you say is right and not right. I think what is true is that young people are not interested in the political world as it stands today. That's for sure. But that's not only the young people. When you look at the results of voting in the US, in the UK, in Europe, the reality is that we just don't trust the politicians anymore. There are two people who are filling the rooms and with thousands of people on planet Earth. Who are they? Who are they? Trump? No, not necessarily. You're also, but it's not filling. With young people. One is the Pope, and the other one is the Dalai Lama. And I'll tell you a personal story. I was in Rome for the celebration of the 60th anniversary, and I was on a conference, nothing to do with the heads of states. and my uncle was dying. And I was taking the plane at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and so don't ask me why. In the morning I decided, okay, I knew my uncle was very bad, and I said, okay, I will go to the mass. And this priest started preaching. And I can't remember what text it was, that I forgot. But he said, you know, it's really interesting because we were in Rome and we celebrated the 60th anniversary of the treaties, etc. But, you know, who cares? Are we really interested in those guys? They come to Rome, they have limousines, you know. Who in Rome knows that they were there except that it was a traffic jam, that we closed the streets, etc.? Who came to see them? Nobody. But who was in Milano yesterday? And there were 1 million people, I can't remember the exact amount. That was the Pope. And you know why? Because the Pope speaks with his heart and not with his head. He's a convincing guy and he's not cheating. Of course, it was said by the priests, so I give my sources. But I think that's where we can make a difference. And that's why I put that title for my conference and not, I will explain to you what EU is about. Because EU is not about a treaty. EU is not about the euro. It's not about economics. It's about people. And the people, that's you. But it's also me, the way I am. And so if we want to interest young people in politics again, first of all, I will say to you what I said to the gentleman about environment. Go for it. And make it different. We spoiled the damn planet. So you need to do it better now. You will make other mistakes. That's fine. But, you know, take it for serious. But again, you know, if you cheat, people can feel it. And I think the more we will have fake news and all those things, the more people will be sensitive. And I strongly believe that people are intelligent. Young people, old people, you know, people know. And so the only way is say what you think and think what you say. And you have seen this with your parents. You're still very young. Okay? If your parents said to you, you know, please don't cheat, and they cheated on you, what do you think? You know? Leading by example, I said yesterday in the conference with the trainees. That's the only way. I cannot ask people something I'm not prepared to do myself. That doesn't work. It doesn't work in education, it doesn't work in management, and it doesn't work in politics. So, dear rector, it's as easy. And it's as difficult. Because to be, you know, honest with yourself, it takes a while. I'm working on it for a while, and once in a while I still mislead myself. So that I can share with you, but my message is, you know, you are all the next generation of politicians. But you need to make it differently, and you cannot cheat. That's the only thing I can share with you. You know, when I have people from my office, and we live in a very difficult place where management is really difficult because we have very complicated rules. Human being is not in the center. And people come to see me and say, you know, will I get my promotion or whatever? You know, I don't cheat. I don't tell them, you know, you will get it if I know already they won't get it. You know, I say, I'm very sorry, this time I can't. Because people can hear that kind of things. Okay? So it's not a direct answer, but for me, I have seen so many young people, you know, working in their, you know, in their cities. You know, I've seen this in Brussels. It's unbelievable. They use the public gardens now. They plant trees. They plant vegetables. They do it together. They don't do it with the politicians. They do it with their colleagues, with their friends, with their families. So it's not a generation problem. I don't believe in a generation problem. They do it together, but they don't trust the politicians, the classical politicians. And since we are in Belgium for the time being, we know what's going on. It's a real crisis of the political world per se. So I think the time is ripe to do it differently. I don't know how. You have to reinvent a world of politicians that are credible. I wish you good luck. Next one.
Bonjour Madame la Directrice Générale.
Bonjour jeune homme.
Merci d'être ici. J'aurais deux questions pour vous qui sont relativement courtes, mais importantes je pense. La première est de savoir, est-ce que vous pensez que les systèmes éducatifs dans l'Union européenne doivent produire des citoyens? Les systèmes éducatifs dans l'Union européenne doivent produire des citoyens ou des travailleurs adaptés au marché de l'emploi? Et ma deuxième...
Attendez, parce que je ne comprends pas là. Vous opposez les citoyens et les travailleurs?
Non, mais en général, on a peut-être une idée que les systèmes éducatifs doivent former des personnes qui puissent s'insérer sur le marché de l'emploi.
Ah d'accord.
Et ma deuxième question était de savoir ce que vous pensez être le futur pour l'éducation au regard de la question épineuse de l'intelligence artificielle, qui va révolutionner cette...
Ça c'est sûr. Alors, il y a en ce qui concerne l'éducation et le lien avec le marché de l'emploi, on sait aujourd'hui que tout ce que vous avez appris aujourd'hui, dans 10 ans, ne servira à rien. C'est rassurant. Recteur, n'écoutez pas, parce qu'il va se dire... Bon. Ceci étant dit, voilà, moi je suis sortie de la fac en 79, en 79, on dit dans ce pays. Et ce que j'ai appris à la fac n'a pas servi à grand-chose non plus. Donc, ça m'a appris à apprendre. Ça, oui. Mais ce que j'ai appris, franchement, je ne suis pas sûre que ça m'ait vraiment aidé. Ça a formé une certaine façon de penser, ça donne des bases générales, etc. Tout ça, c'est vrai. Donc, ce qui est important pour l'instant en matière d'éducation, et on est en train de travailler sur le sujet, c'est de plus en plus ce qu'on appelle les soft skills en anglais. Et quand on voit le système scandinave, c'est vraiment intéressant de voir que dans les écoles, on met en place des systèmes coopératifs, des systèmes dans lesquels on leur apprend quand ils ont 5, 6, 7 ans à travailler ensemble. Quand moi j'étais à la fac, on avait le bout de papier, puis on se cachait du voisin pour avoir un meilleur résultat que le voisin. Ça c'est fini, hein. C'est fini. Aujourd'hui, le monde doit être basé sur un système collaboratif, sur un système où vous travaillez ensemble, vous vous faites confiance, ou pas d'ailleurs, ça c'est après, mais comment apprendre à se faire confiance? Donc, le mode d'éducation est en train de changer complètement, et il vous permettra en fait de vous adapter à un marché qui va tourner de plus en plus vite. J'ai pas d'illusion là-dessus. Par contre, réussir à faire une génération de jeunes qui est capable de s'adapter, là on n'a pas encore tous les outils, mais moi j'ai changé de job 15 fois dans ma vie, hein. Voilà, j'ai commencé, il y a 2 ans, je suis arrivée à m'occuper de l'éducation, je m'occupais d'informatique et de publier des bouquins avant. Voilà, donc j'ai fait des études de droit, bon, ça me sert à quoi aujourd'hui? Pas trop sûr. Voilà, mais voilà, par contre, j'ai aussi fait un gros travail de psychothérapie, de connaissance de soi-même. Socrate, connais-toi toi-même et tu connaîtras Dieu et les hommes. Après, il y a plusieurs traductions, hein, donc je vous l'ai dit comme je le pense. Ça, c'est un vrai boulot. Et ça, c'est important, y compris pour vous, parce que si moi, je me connais moi-même, je suis capable de comprendre les autres et de respecter les autres dans leurs différences. Si je suis toujours encore convaincu, moi, que je vais changer Jimmy alors que ça fait 25 ans que je le connais, ben, je me trompe, parce qu'il ne changera pas. Par contre, moi, je peux travailler sur le fait que sur certains trucs, ils m'énervent. Ça, je peux faire. Ça, je peux faire. Et ça, c'est un vrai travail. Et ça, c'est pas compris dans les curricula pour l'instant. Et donc là, il y a des choses à faire. La connaissance, voilà, beaucoup d'entre vous, moi, quand je parle avec les jeunes, veulent faire des études de psycho. Voilà, j'ai une filleule, maintenant, elle veut faire des études de psycho. Donc j'ai essayé de comprendre pourquoi elle voulait faire des études de psycho. Voilà. En fait, c'est exactement pour ça, parce qu'elle veut comprendre comment fonctionner avec l'autre. Bon, au-delà du fait qu'en général, ça ne s'apprend pas dans les études de psycho non plus, ça. Mais bon, ça s'apprend malheureusement par l'expérience et en faisant beaucoup de bêtises. Bon, mais tant pis. Voilà, donc ça, c'est l'autre aspect. C'est vraiment intéressant d'apprendre comment je fonctionne. Socrate, c'était pas hier, hein, c'était pas avant-hier non plus. Connais-toi toi-même et tu connaîtras Dieu et les hommes. Et je vais quand même citer l'Évangile. Je ne suis pas spécialement croyante, en tout cas pas comme ça, mais... Voilà, tu aimeras ton prochain comme toi-même. Et la chose qu'on oublie toujours, enfin moi j'ai mis très longtemps à le comprendre, c'est le comme toi-même. Donc le premier point, c'est d'être en accord avec moi. Parce que si je ne suis pas encore en accord avec moi, je ne pourrais pas être en accord avec Jimmy. Je te prends comme punching ball là, mais voilà. Donc ça, c'est pour répondre à cette question-là. Donc comment mettre en place dans le système d'éducation des systèmes dans lesquels on apprend à travailler ensemble, ça c'est vraiment important. Je suis en train de faire une formation avec mes collaborateurs au niveau senior management dans la direction générale et la formation s'appelle « Se connaître pour mieux être ». Bizarre, hein? Et c'est pas des trucs dans lesquels vous arrivez à l'hôtel, bonjour madame, vous avez fait bon voyage. Moi, je peux plus l'entendre cette phrase. Ça, c'est des trucs de management, c'est pas pareil. Par contre, savoir que ce qui m'emmerde chez le voisin, ce qui m'embête chez le voisin, ça a toujours un lien avec moi, ça, j'ai mis 40 ans pour le comprendre. Et que l'autre n'est jamais le problème. Ce qui est la bonne solution, parce que si l'autre n'est jamais le problème c'est toujours moi, mais ça veut dire aussi que la solution, c'est toujours moi. Donc c'est un long parcours, ça s'apprend jusque sur le lit de mort, donc bonne chance. La deuxième question, du coup j'ai oublié.
L'intelligence artificielle.
Ah, l'intelligence artificielle. Alors, l'intelligence artificielle, ça fait 20 ans que j'en entends parler, ou 30. Et l'intelligence artificielle va nous donner toute une série de réponses. Siri, c'est déjà une application sous des formes un peu plus simples. Mais donc tout ça, ça va venir. Et donc il va y avoir des machines qui vont nous battre aux échecs, aux machins, aux trucs, etc. Il y a une chose que la machine n'apprendra jamais. Et je reviens à ce que je vous disais tout à l'heure. C'est le lien du cœur. Et donc on peut apprendre à une machine à être intelligente, on ne peut pas apprendre à une machine à aimer, en tout cas pas à ce stade. Et je sais que j'ai un discours très démodé, mais je pense que ce qui nous manque le plus dans nos vies, c'est l'amour. C'est horrible ce que je dis. Voilà. Et ça s'apprend pas dans les machines, ça s'apprend pas dans les bouquins, ça s'apprend pas dans les cours de psychologie. Ça s'apprend dans Erasmus, parce que je dis souvent que ce qui est intéressant dans Erasmus, c'est pas ce que vous apprenez à la fac, mais la bière que vous allez boire ensemble, et comme on est à Bruges, elles sont très bonnes en plus les bières, voilà. Apprendre à vivre ensemble. Le apprendre à vivre ensemble, c'est ce que le maire de Malines nous a expliqué hier. Et apprendre à vivre ensemble, ça veut dire oser, ça veut dire ne pas avoir peur, ça veut dire arrêter de dire aux gens qui sont mauvais, machin, etc. Et ça veut dire partager. Le monde d'aujourd'hui n'est pas fabriqué comme ça. Et donc, une fois de plus, il y a du boulot, les jeunes. Je parle aux jeunes parce que, voilà, nous, notre avenir est derrière nous. Voilà. Mais l'intelligence artificielle n'est pas le risque. Depuis toujours, il y a eu des révolutions industrielles. On est passé d'un truc à un autre. C'est pas ça le problème. Le problème, il est comment est-ce que moi, je peux être bien dans la société d'aujourd'hui telle qu'elle est aujourd'hui. Et ça commence par moi. Et comment est-ce que moi, je peux me mettre au service de l'autre? Mais pour pouvoir me mettre au service de l'autre, il faut d'abord que je sois au clair avec moi-même. Et ça, c'est un job qui dure. Moi, ça fait 40 ans que ça me passionne. Et c'est pour ça que je suis devenue prof de yoga. Parce que la spiritualité asiatique me passionne. Parce que ça m'a permis de mieux comprendre ma culture, qui est une culture judéo-chrétienne. Mais ça prend un peu de temps, Ça, c'est la mauvaise nouvelle pour les impatients, et j'en fais partie. Donc, je dis ça de façon très cool. OK, next.
Merci.
Ah, pardon.
Bonjour madame, merci beaucoup de votre présence. Vous avez parlé de Chine. J'aimerais savoir est-ce qu'il y a une stratégie européenne en matière d'éducation vis-à-vis de l'Afrique, et quelles en sont les spécificités?
Alors, Bon, l'Afrique, c'est grand, donc c'est compliqué aussi. Donc, on a conclu un accord avec la Tunisie et le Maroc il n'y a pas longtemps en matière d'éducation pour ouvrir nos portes. Parce que alors, est-ce que c'est pour vous l'Afrique? Oui, c'est en Afrique, mais bon, c'est quand même. Et il y a tout un mouvement qui est en cours sur l'Afrique. C'est pas toujours évident parce que l'Afrique n'est pas toujours très organisée. Donc c'est plutôt avec un certain nombre de pays. On a des discours. Enfin, tout ça, ça fait partie de la diplomatie culturelle dont on parlait tout à l'heure. Donc c'est compris dans cet environnement. C'est une priorité, mais sur laquelle, et ça c'est tout le problème de la politique étrangère, je vais l'appeler comme ça au niveau européen, c'est très compliqué de parler d'une seule voix. Ça vous le savez tous. On l'a vu dans tous les débats qu'on a pu avoir sur tous les traités internationaux, etc. Et c'est ce que le président Juncker a dit sur son discours sur l'état de l'Union. Si on ne réussit pas à mettre en place un système dans lequel on peut décider à la majorité qualifiée, ça va continuer d'être aussi compliqué. Alors, ce qui est intéressant dans le discours de Juncker sur l'état de l'Union, c'est qu'en fait, on peut, avec le traité actuel, sans le changer, décider à l'unanimité qu'on votera à la majorité qualifiée. Alors, est-ce que les États membres et les chefs d'État vont accepter de lâcher un petit bout de leur pouvoir pour ne pas être toujours au centre des trucs. On nous souhaite bonne chance, hein, Jimmy, mais bon, on peut toujours essayer. Et l'Afrique est une des priorités européennes, et pour une raison très simple, c'est que quand on voit les flux provisionnels en matière de migration pour des raisons économiques, je pense que ce qui est en train d'arriver pour l'instant, c'est de la gnognotte à côté de ce qu'on risque de voir par rapport à l'Afrique. Donc c'est une priorité, mais pour l'instant, nous n'avons pas encore les moyens suffisants au niveau politique. Tu voulais dire quelque chose? Après, d'accord.
Good morning. I know that the curriculum of studies of high school, for example, is really in the domestic issue. But can the European Union do something more, give some more money to enhance the study of languages? Because it's really difficult. I mean, we want to have more solidarity between European citizens, but still with the differences of languages, it's really a problem. So, I mean, I come from Italy, and we have to study English from 6 years old, but still, when people finish high school, they don't know how to speak English. So they go in other member states and they cannot speak to other people. So I think it's really like something that stop solidarity to be built because they cannot understand each other.
Okay, so I think, again, directly we cannot, because of what I just said earlier, but we already have the meetings of the teachers, etc., at the European level on a regular basis. But this is not a new issue. I'll tell you a personal story. When I started my law study in Luxembourg, and there was only 1 year. The second year I went to Nice. And since I'm Luxembourgish, I speak German more or less correctly. And since I'm also lazy, because I'm very lazy, I said, okay, I'll go to the German class because you could get extra points, and I think that's going to be cheap. So I think I'm going to do. And I was fascinated about the fact that the German teacher spoke a very, very poor German, very, very poor, and that was at the level of the university. So this is a real difficult issue, and I think we need to address it at some stage. You're absolutely right, but we need to find the right ways. And again, e-twinning is one of the things where they talk about how to teach it. Because, when I was 16, 17, we were still reading Shakespeare in the text, which is great, but that's not very helpful if you want to order a beer in the bar. So I think, at some stage we need to adapt also. Speaking is one thing, drafting like Shakespeare is something else. But again, one point we are doing on the level of DGEAC, which is that in the context of Erasmus, we have the online language service, which is a free of charge class to learn languages. And we have opened it up to refugees. So I think we do what we can at our level, but again, I can't do it all, fortunately. Next.
Bonjour madame, ma question est en lien avec la question de cette jeune femme. Je me demandais ce que vous pensiez de la faisabilité de la proposition de Macron concernant la création d'universités européennes où des cours seraient enseignés en 2 langues, dans un contexte où justement j'ai l'impression que beaucoup d'étudiants vont étudier à l'étranger mais sans prendre la peine d'essayer d'apprendre la langue du pays qui les accueille par exemple.
Alors, moi, je trouve que, voilà, Macron, déjà, il parle d'éducation, donc ça, déjà, ça fait des vacances. Donc, il a compris qu'effectivement, il ne suffisait pas de créer des jobs, mais que si on n'a pas des jeunes qui ont les compétences nécessaires, et que ça commence par l'éducation. Alors, Erasmus est déjà une université de ce type. Il faudrait peut-être lui expliquer, mais bon, je dis en rigolant. Je pense qu'il le sait et ça existe déjà. Il y a déjà des écoles et des universités en Europe qui ont ce qu'on appelle des dual diplomes, dual system diplomes. Donc en fait, tout ça existe déjà. Je pense que lui veut aller un pas plus loin et on est en train de travailler à la création d'une école européenne de la gouvernance à Florence, qui sera en lien avec Bruges, qui sera en lien avec l'ENA, qui sera en lien avec toute une série d'universités. C'est un projet qui est en développement et ça pourrait être la prémisse d'une idée de ce type, dans laquelle les étudiants pourraient passer d'un pays à l'autre. Alors sur la question des langues, ce qui est compliqué à l'heure actuelle, c'est que la langue véhiculaire, entre guillemets, si vous allez à l'étranger, c'est en général pas le français, mais l'anglais. Donc, il va y avoir tout un débat maintenant qui va se mettre en place. Est-ce qu'un Allemand est capable d'apprendre l'anglais? Je suis toujours étonnée de voir que nos amis italiens et espagnols, dans la nouvelle génération, ils arrivent, ils ne parlent pas le français, ils parlent l'anglais. C'est la première langue. Donc, on a tout un débat là qu'il va falloir mettre en place et que je pense va se mettre en place doucement, peut-être après le mois de mars 2019. Parce que la vraie question qui va se poser, c'est quelle est la place de l'anglais et comment apprendre d'autres langues. Je veux dire, l'espagnol est une langue qui est parlée universellement, le chinois est parlé universellement, donc il y a toute une série de débats dans ce contexte-là qu'on peut mettre en place. Vous travaillez en 2 langues, vous, ou en une? Donc vous êtes censé parler le français et l'anglais, les deux ici. Voilà, et donc ça peut fonctionner. Mais ça va demander beaucoup d'efforts, parce que pour des anglophones apprendre le français ou pour des Français apprendre l'anglais, je pense que Macron doit être le premier président de la République qui est fluent in English. Hein. Enfin, voilà, donc, par rapport aux autres, il y a du progrès, voilà. Donc, mais moi, je me souviens, vous êtes italien, vous? Voilà. Moi, je me souviens d'un Premier ministre italien qui me parlait que l'italien. Hein. Et là, on a un vrai défi, parce que est-ce qu'on peut vraiment demander à nos politiques de parler 2 langues pour être élus? Il y a un vrai défi démocratique qui est là. Vous êtes tous des polyglottes, moi aussi. Mais quand vous allez vous promener dans la campagne italienne ou dans la campagne allemande ou dans, je ne sais pas d'où vous venez, vous? France, voilà. Ou en Auvergne. Voilà. Essayez d'aller trouver des gens qui parlent une autre langue que le français, hein. Et donc, c'est un vrai défi, et je pense que ça va mettre encore une génération. N'oubliez pas que vous faites partie de l'intelligentsia ici. Hein. Vous n'êtes pas, excusez-moi, représentatif des gens, entre guillemets, de la base. La plupart des gens, voilà, moi j'étais à Bayreuth écouter un opéra, ce qui n'est pas du tout la base non plus. Et j'y étais avec mon compagnon qui est italien, qui ne parle pas un mot d'allemand. Et il m'a dit, mais je serais mort de faim sans toi. Les restaurants, la carte était en allemand. Enfin, il serait mort de faim, je ne crois pas, hein, mais voilà. Et donc, il faut qu'on fasse attention aussi à la perception, voilà, de notre monde, et ça, c'est pas que Bruxelles et les eurocrates, mais de notre monde et du monde des gens, entre guillemets, normaux. Parce que je crois que c'est eux qui sont normaux et pas nous. Donc, et de remettre les choses en équilibre. Ceci étant dit, le fait qu'on oblige tous les enfants en Europe de parler une 2e langue dès qu'ils ont 4 ans, 5 ans, 6 ans, je signe tout de suite. Parce que ça aussi, c'est bon pour le cerveau. Et c'est facile quand ils sont enfants. Mais est-ce qu'on est prêt à le faire? Ça, malheureusement, vous le ferez quand vous serez ministre de l'Éducation en France. Mais ça, c'est demain. Hein. Il a 39 ans, l'autre. Hein. Next. Tout le monde. Où est-il? Voilà. Hello.
My question will be more philosophical, though linked to this. I suppose, as you said, we can ask anything we want. My question would be, as I have an impression that you are passionate about what you do, so how do we choose our path? How do we know what is right? And if and when we do, what could be the tools to overcome all the obstacles that sometimes seem very hard to overcome?
It's interesting because I'm laughing because it's a question I got yesterday with the trainees. And my answer was, in life, things come. You can act. And one of my favorite sentences is, your being attracts your life, and not the other way around. So you could use cornerstones, you can do whatever you can, but the success is not always in your hands. Usually it's not, by the way. And the success doesn't always come from where you think it will come. I'll tell you a very interesting, interesting, it's mine, but it's not that interesting, but 2 years ago, I was Director General Publications Office, having a funny life in Luxembourg, And on a Saturday morning, I go to the market and I meet the Vice Prime Minister, who says, oh, I need to talk to you. And then I say, okay, do you want me to pass by on Monday? And then he says, no, I need to talk to you now. So we sit down, have a coffee, and he said, I will put a question to you, and you have to say yes. So I was already, oh. And he says, you know that the commissioner, Luxembourgish Commissioner Viviane Reding is going to Strasbourg? I said, yes, I know. And I said, my God, where is he going? And he said, and you know that Juncker will be the next president, 90% of chances. It wasn't sure at that stage. So we need you to replace Viviane Reding. So can you accept to be a commissioner for 4 months? And I said, but that's not possible. He said, you have to say yes. Why do I tell this story? I never thought about something crazy like this. So I was also a commissioner for 4 months, which you forgot, Mr. Rector, by the way. What I wanted to say by this, you know why I got this job? First of all, because it was only 4 months, so nobody wanted a job. So that's for sure. But also because they knew that I could take over, because it was the commissioner in charge for justice. I could take over. I could go to the hearing in the European Parliament. 3.5 hours of exam, youngsters. It's the worst exam I ever passed. It was awful. So, you know, I didn't ask for anything, but they know that I'm reliable. They also know that I'm a little bit crazy, but you all know now. But I'm delivering. So I didn't ask for it. And when I look back to my career, I didn't ask for any single job. Not one. It was always by chance. And you know why I went to go, I applied for the competition with the European Union? I was a lawyer in Luxembourg, and I was doing fine, and I was earning lots of money. By the way, I would have earned much more if I would have stayed as a lawyer. But I'm not that interested in money, so that's fine. And one day, I get a phone call from a friend of mine. I told you the story, don't you? No? A friend of mine who says, you know, there is this competition going on in Brussels. And I say, official, me, never. And then he says, yes, but maybe I will need a hand to climb stairs, etc. He had poliomyelitis when he was a kid. And since I'm fundamentally a nice girl, once in a while, so we spent this wonderful weekend in Brussels, because in those days you got the equivalent of 200 euros for the weekend. So a wonderful weekend in Brussels. We go to pass the exam. And who failed the exam and who passed the exam? He failed, I passed. You know what he's doing now? He's the president of the European Tribunal. You must know him. Mark Jäger. So he's the one, you know, who is guilty or who is responsible. Just to tell you that, you know, in life, you know, use the opportunities, dare to be who you are, because it's the difference that will make you known. And I said yesterday to the stagiaires, to the trainees, I put yoga teacher on my CV, not because of one day I woke up and said, okay, what shall I put on my CV? But that makes the difference. And one of the ladies I hired when I was in the cabinet of Santerre and I was in charge of HR, and I needed to recruit Belgium. And all those CVs look the same. You all have the same CVs. You all, you know, you all studied law, political science, economics. You all speak 5, 6 languages. And you know why I chose her? Because she studied in the Juilliard School and she was a soprano. She still is a soprano, by the way. Meanwhile, she's one of my best girlfriends, and I'm the goddaughter of her daughter. But again, that's my message. Dare to be who you are. You know, show what you, where are you different? Where are you different? And opportunities will come. We, of course, need to move your feet again, okay? But again, just talking about my experience, I never asked for a job. I get it. And it will be the same with you. What about the people who are above 40 in this place? What happened to you? You share the experience or not? Yes or no? A rector?
Yes, by and large, yes.
By and large, so he disagrees a little bit. What about you? He's above 40, is he? Yeah.
Well,
Thank you very much. I will tell you at lunchtime.
Okay? So again, trust. My message is dare to be who you are and trust yourself. You are really great, clever, well educated. Go for it. But don't stick to this system whereby you all want to become EU officials. That's not your future. If you want to change the world, find different places to change the world. This is a very positive message. Hello to all listening. Okay? I will be kicked out of and fired afterwards, but I stick to it. You know, if you want to change the world at your age, go to other places, because that's where you will change the world. Because in the EU, I'm sorry for you, crazy people like me and Jimmy are the minority. You will make the difference when you will turn 40, 45 maybe early. But Macron will maybe change the world. If he would be an official in the EU, he would never have succeeded that way. Maybe he will fail, whatever happens. We don't know. We cross fingers. But at least it's a new phase. You know? Okay, I think we take one more, two more. Bonjour.
Merci beaucoup pour cette conférence. Nos États membres nous apprennent à être des citoyens français, allemands, italiens. On nous le rabâche beaucoup à l'école, mais ils ne nous apprennent quasiment pas ou très peu à être des citoyens européens.
Ouais.
Et moi j'ai un rêve, c'est que tous les jeunes en Europe, au sens large, dans l'UE d'abord, se sentent citoyens européens. Et comment on peut faire avec vous, nous, comment on peut faire pour que cela se réalise?
Je vais citer le maire de Mechelen d'hier, qui a dit, et il est le maire de Malines, hein, il a dit « Quand je suis à Malines, je suis de Malines. Quand je suis à Bruxelles, je dis que je suis à Malines. Quand je suis aux États-Unis, personne ne sait où c'est Malines, je dis que je suis un Européen. » Et je pense que la réponse n'est pas où, elle est « et ». Je pense que moi, quand je suis dans mon bled à Luxembourg, je suis luxembourgeoise. Quand je suis en Belgique, je suis du Grand-Duché de Luxembourg. Quand je suis avec vous, je suis une Européenne. Jamais j'explique que je viens de Luxembourg quand je suis aux États-Unis. Ils ne savent même pas où c'est. Ils savent où est, vous savez quoi? Schengen à cause du visa. Au fin fond de la Chine, ils savent où est Schengen. À cause des visas. Donc, tout le monde sait en Chine où est Schengen. Voilà. Donc, une fois de plus, la question n'est pas de savoir si vous venez de France, d'Europe, etc. C'est d'avoir ce sentiment d'appartenance qui est un sentiment d'appartenance qui peut être variable en fonction des... Et ça, on revient à la philosophie, de ne pas vous identifier à juste un rôle. Vous êtes beaucoup plus que simplement un jeune étudiant ou autre chose. Moi qui suis professeur de yoga, ok, on n'est pas identifié à cette carcasse. Vous n'êtes pas cette carcasse. Vous n'êtes pas un diplôme. Vous n'êtes pas un étudiant. Vous êtes beaucoup, beaucoup, beaucoup plus. Et ça, c'est un chemin qui est intéressant. Et c'est par ce charisme-là, et ça vient, grâce à ça, d'être beaucoup plus que ce que vous êtes. Vous connaissez cette figure de Leonardo da Vinci qui est sur les pubs de Manpower? C'est ça que vous êtes, tous. Et quand vous allez faire un oral... Ça, c'est ce que j'utilise moi comme truc et je l'ai appris dans une formation. Vous vous imaginez, vous, dans ce cercle, grand bonhomme ou grande bonne femme. Et à ce moment-là, vous rentrez dans la salle de l'oral. Et vous réussirez vos examens. Je vous le dis. Allez, on en prend encore une? Ah, yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Maxim Kolesnik from Ukraine. Thank you for this possibility to exchange with you. My question concerns Erasmus Plus and education policy at large. Besides my Erasmus Plus project proposal in the field of higher education, capacity building in the field of higher education was selected this year by European Commission, but I'm here for study at College of Europe. So taking into account success of Erasmus Plus, maybe it's time to launch European common education and or research policy. And second part of this question, imagine the situation when this common policy becomes reality. What steps should be taken, in your opinion? Thank you.
I think we have a, I think on the first question I can only agree. This being said, I think we need to push the politicians. On the second part of the question, we have an Eastership partnership dialogue. I was myself in Warsaw with Commissioner Hahn 2 months ago, 3 months ago, where we met people from Ukraine, from Uzbekistan, from the countries, and we are really trying to build bridges. This will be a long process, we know, but I think again we also need politicians on that side who share your point of view, and not all of them do. So again, I always say the same, move your feet. And I think you are now the generation going back who will need to take over and to testify. And it's if we have 100 gorillas testifying, the world will change. I think, again, you need to incarnate the change, and you can move the world so that it changes the way you would like it to see. And that will be my last message. Trust yourself. Really, go for it. Go for it. It's one of the messages of the Dalai Lama when I met him last week, in November in Brussels. And he said to the young people, lots of young people, you need to take over. You need to take over. And you have completely different models from my generation. Go for it. Trust yourself. We can give you a hand, but now you need to take over responsibility like some of them did. I think when you look, politicians are getting younger. You are the next generation, but please don't make it cheap. Do it accordingly to your ideal world, not to the world we have left you. That's what I all wish you, and I thank you so much for listening. It was great fun being with you today. Thank you.
Well, Director General Reichert's, many thanks for this very inspiring citizens dialogue, which at the same time I think also had many ingredients of lessons for life. And I found very inspiring for our younger generation here who is studying at the college, especially also the appeal to really be what you are and to realize your full potential. If you just allow me to link your message a little bit with something internal to the college. Each year we have some students, or quite a number, who ask already at the start of the academic year, which combination of optional courses, which choice of a thesis for the master thesis is most likely to be the most useful? That's a wrong question. You should choose courses here at the college, and you should go for subjects of the master thesis which passionate you and where you really can identify with. There is no safe choice in terms of best combination, but it's your heart and ultimately your own conviction and standing by yourself. So there's a direct link between what the Director General said and your upcoming choices at the college. We offer you a lot of choices. Go for those which are closest to your heart. If you make choices you feel passionately about, you will really be most successful in your careers. So thanks very much, Director General, again.